Hey everybody, C-Note here and welcome to Dopamine, the show that is all about mental health empowerment. And I talk about INTPs on this YouTube channel and I help them connect to themselves and the universe using personality typology. I am an INTP, that is why I talk about this stuff. And I want to help you guys do all the good things to just kind of be a person and appreciate and enjoy your life. So you can hit me up at Let's Go C-Note on all the social channels. If you have questions about INTP coaching and all that stuff, and there's links below to all the sign up stuff for email things. Today I want to talk about INTP and INTJ love. Not love in terms of romance, but like what do INTPs and INTJs appreciate about each other? I want to start doing more videos that are slightly about comparisons between types. I know that there are sometimes conflations between two types, and this episode is not necessarily about differentiating the two types. I will do videos in the future. I will do stuff on privately in terms of the programs and things like that that will help you kind of separate those things out. But if you do have questions about that, let me know, and you want me to do a video about that, let me know and I will certainly touch on that topic. But INTPs and INTJs sometimes can be like two peas in a pod. We are two very different personality types. For as much as the INT parts can have a lot of commonalities, there are some distinct key differences, not distinct differences, distinct key differences between the types that they tend to admire about each other, especially the thinking aspects. I think the intuition can get a little frustrating, but the thinking types, extroverted thinking for INTJ and introverted thinking for INTPs, I think there can be a little bit of admiration and harmony for each other's type of thinking when you find healthy versions of each type and you're kind of talking to each other and you're able to admire each other for the things that you're capable of. I love INTJs personally for their ability to just figure out what needs to be done, right? Like, I know that as an INTP, it takes me forever to figure out what I need to do, right? There's just a lot of exploring. I feel like I'm touching everything intellectually. I need all the information to figure out what to do next. Whereas an INTJ doesn't necessarily need all of the information. They're trying to keep their mind clear so that they can think about the future and think about, keep their mind relaxed. Whereas our minds as INTPs are like constantly buzzing. I know for me, that's the way it is. Like, I'm constantly buzzing and going and moving, and there's just like, I want to break sometimes. It's exhausting. But as an INTJ, someone who has that type, they're trying to keep their mind relaxed. So when they're dealing with information, they're only looking for the things that they absolutely need, right? They have their own growth path in terms of needing to find things that are effective, not just efficient, meaning they need to find the best solution, not just the shortcut, simplest solution. But their impulsion, their impulse is to, or their compulsion is to find the simple solution. The simple proven solution is usually what an INTJ is looking for. And I admire that so much. Like, they can look at some INTJs can go to a nonfiction book and basically like cliff notes the thing, right? They can like, okay, I need this. It's like using reference material, right? Like, they go through it and they're like, okay, I need this, I need this, I need this. And then they can kind of follow those steps and make something happen. Whereas I need to read that book, and then I need to read 3 other books to understand a simple concept so that I can almost, see if there's patterns and consistencies in what's being taught. Like, I don't necessarily just trust what's being told of me, but an INTJ can have a really good sense of being able to figure out what needs to be done. And I definitely admire that because I can't do that very easily. And in terms of their intuition, I think an INTJ has an amazing ability to figure out what needs to be done to build something bigger, to start a business, to put things together that lead to something at a big scale. Whereas, INTPs, we have a lot of challenges often with picking something, it's like, it can be a challenge to just like pick one thing to focus on. Whereas an INTJ may more naturally have this singular focus. And I can definitely admire that. Conversely, I think a lot of INTJs can wish that they were a little bit more freeform and can just kind of like relax in public, because they're a little bit more tense. They try to show up prepared, right? So those are just a few kind of short examples of what each type can sort of admire from each other. I've got a friend, Michael, who also lives here in Rochester. He's showed up at our Profiler training event. He's a really good dude. He's an INTJ, and every time we talk to each other, it's just sort of like an admiration fest back and forth. Like, I love that INTPs do this. I love that INTJs do this. It's really cool that you guys do this, right? And I think it's important to not just look at the different types for how we differ or try to figure out what our type is, but to look at different types and look for the things that we can admire in them, right? Because an INTJ, while there's only one letter apart in terms of the Myers-Briggs system, all of our functions are different. They lead with introverted intuition, then extroverted thinking, then introverted feeling, then extroverted sensing. Those are not functions that are in the INTP stack at all. So to learn, there's like so much to learn from each other and be able to admire the fact that they can do amazing things that we aren't naturally susceptible or capable of doing as much. We often have to combine functions to simulate what they do, and they have to do the same thing. Sometimes they have to combine functions to simulate, you know, what it is that we do a little bit more naturally. So it's just interesting to be able to learn from different types, to be able to connect with people and look at them and actually have conversations in a constructive way and just admire people for what that is that they do, you know? And I think that's a beautiful part about being one of 16 types, because really we're not one of 16 types, we're one of 7.5 billion people. Everyone's got unique experiences. But in terms of the 16 types, there are people who just do things that we don't do, or think about things in ways that we don't naturally think about. And sometimes having exposure to that can lead us to think a little bit differently about how to approach life, or to find situations where we can start to ask for help more than we might normally be willing to. Now that I know more about extroverted thinking, for example, I realize that it's very hard for me to do it. Not only that, but I have executive function challenges as an ADHD person. So when I need something sort of constructed, I tend to turn to my ENFP partner who has extroverted thinking in her stack, or INTJs in my life, or an ENTJ, someone who just can kind of help me figure out what the next thing is. Sometimes we spend a lot of time as INTPs ruminating and figuring out what it is that we need to do. Whereas if we just consulted with someone and figuring out which personalities and which people in our lives we can consult and ask for help, we would probably be a little bit less humiliated to ask for help, right? So I don't know if you guys have trouble asking for help as much as I do, but I certainly do. So knowing that extroverted thinking is a completely different process, something I could use a little bit of help with, and for me to try to force myself to be that is not necessarily constructive. I can allow myself to ask for help in more situations from INTJs, from ENFPs, from other people who have different functions in their stack, and not necessarily just rely on myself all the time to do it. And I think that's part of the human condition. I think we need to understand each other a little bit more so that we can actually help each other. That's really part of why these functions are mixed between people, is that if we're just trying to do everything ourselves, then why would we need anyone, right? And I think inherently we need other people because of this basically information that other psychological types can do different things in different ways, and we need to support each other to make those things happen. So hopefully that makes sense. I love INTJs, they're some of my favorite people, and it's good to have one in your life, especially as an INTP. If you're trying to take some of your theoretical ideas and make something happen, INTJs are going to make something happen out of it. And conversely, INTJs are going to ask you to work through a process with them and try to figure out some of the nitty-gritty details that maybe they not necessarily would be capable of or want to do, right? So it's mutual admiration, mutual love, and that's what this is about. Just finding ways to be helpful, to use type to connect people, and to just, prove to ourselves that we are worthy of connection, and helping other people feel worthy of connection as well. So that's everything. I'm exhausted, so I'm done with these videos for this month, but I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. I am C Notes. You can hit me up at Let's Go C Notes on all the social channels if you have questions about coaching. There are links to signups and all that stuff below. And hit me up with questions, and if you have any requests for videos that you would like to see in the future, let me know. I will write them down and I will do them in the coming months. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll catch you next time on Dopamine. See ya.